I'm sure a bunch of morons are complaining about the themes this show is exploring, which is ridiculous. It's set in early 1960s America, where these issues were on full display every single day. To ignore that is a disservice to the reality of that time. And it takes away from one of the most interesting aspects of the series so far. So, to all those morons saying it is woke because it's exploring class and racism, a time where those things were very much on display, just fuck off. Go watch, one of those right-wing grifting assholes that you just always love to jerk off to. You're not going to get it here. Let's get down to clowns. So, Welcome to Derry has been releasing episodes, or at least they've released 2 episodes so far. And I'll admit, I wasn't planning on watching this show. I just really wasn't interested in it. I didn't really care for the trailers all that much, and the premise just sounded like the same old thing. More kids being preyed upon by Pennywise the dancing clown. And not to say that I'm not a fan of it in general. Like, I read the book years ago and I enjoyed it for the most part. That tome written by Stephen King, an author I enjoy, and I've liked many of his works and many Stephen King adaptations. Recently did a top 10 best Stephen King movies list, And, of course, I watched the original miniseries from the 90s, of course, starring Tim Curry, one of his iconic roles. Thought he was great as Pennywise the Clown, and I really enjoyed the part 1 of that miniseries, which focused on the children, not so much the adults. And I guess the same can be said for the newest It films, which is what Welcome to Derry is a prequel of. Like, I really enjoyed the 2017 film directed by Andy Muschietti. I thought it was great, setting in the 80s. I loved the cast of kids. Thought they all had wonderful chemistry. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, the dancing clown, I thought was wonderful, and it just one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. In my top 10, matter of fact, that was number 7 for me, if I recall. It Chapter 2, again, that focused more on the adult stuff, and again, that part of the book, it was just never as strong as with the kids. The adult stuff, it just didn't really work as much for me. I mean, clearly, and they knew that material wasn't as strong because they brought back the kid actors for that part 2. But yeah, I enjoy the character of Pennywise. I enjoy this creation of Stephen King and how it's popped up in other things, in some of his other books and stuff over the years as well. It's always been fun. But like this series, I just wasn't interested until I started hearing really positive buzz about the show. People are saying like, oh, it's not what you expect. It's actually doing things differently. Pennywise doesn't fuck around in this show. I was like, oh, okay. I'll check it out. And I watched the first 2 episodes, chat, and I'll save my thoughts in just a bit because I do want to give you a bit of a synopsis, the premise of the show overall, in case you don't know. Now, the show is set in the town of Derry, Maine in 1962, 27 years before the events of the original 2017 film. And the series follows the arrival of Major Leroy Hanlon and his family, and also a group of local kids who begin to investigate various disappearances in the town. Meanwhile, the ancient evil, the entity known as It, or Pennywise, begins to essentially stir beneath the surface of Derry and is feeding on fear and gathering strength over time. And the story weaves together supernatural horror, racial and social tensions of that era, of the early 1960s, and the question of how a small town's dark past essentially catches up with its present. So, like I said, going into the show, I was worried that Welcome to Derry would just be a simple, straightforward prequel. Basically following a 1960s version of The Losers Club and going through, most of the same beats, plot-wise, character-wise, scares-wise, etc. But I was pleasantly surprised by the first 2 episodes because it dares to do something different than just the same formula again, than just regurgitating the same stuff that we've seen in a lot of the other adaptations of It. At least so far, we have a well-constructed horror drama that I think deepens the mythology of Derry while carving out its own distinct identity. You know, with it set in 1962, the series doesn't just set the stage for its Pennywise's later rampage. It burrows into the town's soul, revealing a place that's already haunted long before a killer clown began stalking kids in the sewer. The show, I think, balances supernatural terror with a lot of grounded emotional stakes, anchored by a nice ensemble, some thoughtful writing, and a chilling use of Cold War anxiety, which I really appreciate. You know, this isn't nostalgia dressed as horror. It's genuinely an unsettling descent into a time when the monster under Derry wasn't the only thing to fear. You know, the show thrives by letting both adults and children share narrative focus. Fear essentially lives at every age here. And the ensemble format, I think, gives the town suffering room to breathe. We're seeing a lot of different perspectives other than the children's perspective. And I really like that we follow so many adult characters in this. It really, it actually addresses a complaint I've always had, I think other people have had, of the original It material, namely the adult storyline just not being nearly as interesting as the stuff with the kids. The adult performances that really stand out to me, at least so far, are actors playing the Hanlon family, which is this black military family who recently moved to Derry to participate essentially in this military project. Taylor Page and Jovan Adepo, hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, they deliver great performances, like deeply human turns as Charlotte and Major Leroy Hanlon, grounding the story in a lot of grief, resilience, and uneasy hope. I think their work just gives the series a lot of emotional gravity, especially as they quietly begin to sense something is wrong here in Derry. The people are weird. The events that have surrounded this town are utterly bizarre. Like Charlotte, you know, she's this mother. She's been moving around the country because of her husband, who is a veteran of the Korean War. She's trying to settle down, trying to, you know, create a loving, you know, nurturing environment for her son. And she's like one of the first people to pick up, one of the adult characters pick up that, like, there is something deeply wrong with these. There's a lot of messed up people in here. And she's pointing it out, and people, for whatever reason, are like, it's just the way it is. You know, boys will be boys, as we see just these bullies, just like a lot of Stephen King bullies in this show, just beating the ever-living hell out of this one kid, and her actually taking action against it. And also being very much aware that I'm a black woman in a small town that has a lot of prejudices, right? And that's always in the back of her mind, and that's always in the back of our mind, and we see that a lot with her character. The same can be said, I think, for Leroy Hanlon, where he is a black man in the United States Air Force, and he's confronted with a lot of prejudice, a lot of racism, despite being very talented and having a celebrated history as a pilot, specifically picked for this military project that's being conducted in Derry. And I really like their two roles here. They feel like a married couple that, like, their marriage is strained because of Leroy's issues, moving around all the time as someone in the United States military, and they're trying to reconnect. He's trying to connect with his son, who he feels like he barely knows. Like, a lot of the dramatic stuff in the show with them, I think, is really, really good. And it's just nice to finally have some adult characters in It adaptation who I'm like, I'm really invested in these people. I like their story a lot. And I can't wait to see how it's going to unfold, especially when they reveal more and more about what's going on and why the military's there. But at the same time, I think the young cast also shines in this, with the actress of Clara Stack as the character of Lily, and the actress Amanda Christine as Veronica, as Ronnie. In the show, they managed to capture the vulnerability and that raw fear that essentially defined the original film's Losers Club and other adaptations of the Losers Club. But they do an interesting twist with them. They're with them very much not being friends, and we see a rift that kind of sets them down separate paths. That'll be interesting to see play out as the series essentially goes on. Like, Lily's a character who has a pretty traumatic past, where her father died in a pickle accident. It's actually far more horrific than funny. But this caused her to be placed in an insane asylum in a time where psychiatric health and mental health was kind of or seeking help for those kind of things was vilified, and you were almost made a town pariah. So that's an interesting element they play around with in this show. And Ronnie, she's a black girl that lives in a racist town, right? And her father is being accused for a lot of things that he did not commit, and she's dealing with all that stress while also trying to figure out what the hell's going on too. And at the same time, having a lot of conflict with the character of Lily in this show. So even though you do have familiar child characters in this series, I like that they made them feel different than the other members of the Losers Club. They might be going through the same fears the Losers Club did, but the relationships of each other are very different. So again, that gives it its own unique spin, unique flavor, if you will. And I thought that was great. Writing-wise, I think Welcome to Derry walks a very clever line. It honors Stephen King and the Muschietti films while avoiding just being a retread, right? The pacing, I think, is patient and simmering rather than like frantic. Dread accumulates over time. I mean, they have, the benefit of that since it's a television show. It's not a 2-hour movie. So they can have this, happen over a series of episodes. And the premiere episode's opening sequence and ending sequence makes it clear that the series will not hold back, providing just really grotesque, provocative set pieces that borders on some surreal body horror, which I like, which I think, again, further separates it from the original It movies in a good way. A lot of pregnancy horror in this show, but I thought that was pretty cool. However, where the show truly becomes special is in its use of time and place. The Cold War backdrop isn't just window dressing. It's the oxygen that the horror itself breathes. Derry sits beside like a military base in this show, and it's just, the town is just saturated in nuclear dread, institutional secrecy, and just the brittle optimism of a post-war America. That optimism falling apart. And the show, I think, contrasts with the pastel tinted, perfect suburbia vibe with just this slow rot that's obviously beneath the town, right? Within the town itself, just using the period detail, not just as window dressing, but with a lot of thematic weight. I think that's so great. Also, social tensions. There's a lot of social tensions, particularly race and class, I think are woven organically and are showcased in a wonderful way. Like it's felt in these sideways looks, right? The military politics that are explored, and just who the town chooses to believe or ignore, right? As these murders start to escalate. Evil in Welcome to Derry is systematic as much as it is essentially supernatural. Pennywise, is only one predator in a town full of them. And, I'm sure a bunch of morons are complaining about the themes this show is exploring, which is ridiculous. It's set in early 1960s America, where these issues were on full display every single day. To ignore that is a disservice to the reality of that time. And it takes away from one of the most interesting aspects of the series so far. So to all those morons saying it is woke because it's exploring class and racism, a time where those things were very much on display, just fuck off. Go watch, one of those right-wing grifting assholes that you just always love to jerk off to. You're not going to get it here. And just beneath the scares, the series, I think, it explores some really big ideas. Fear as currency and control, the collective amnesia, the fragility of innocence itself, and the poisonous comfort of living in constant and consistent denial for years and years and years. Derry's horror it isn't just that children have been disappearing. It's that adults have consistently looked away and ignored it and don't want to be confronted about it. The show suggests that the monster thrives not just on screams, right? The screams of children, but on the silence of them, the complicity. And the stories of town tells itself just to sleep more soundly at night, making stuff up, right? Just shoveling more bullshit so they can get to the next day. It's as much a tragedy about people choosing to be blind as it is a nightmare about a shape-shifting evil clown monster, right? A clown monster hasn't even popped up yet. And something that really surprised me about this show, and I'm going to be very careful here, the connections to wider Stephen King stuff, the connections to the wider Stephen King universe is explored. And I found that very interesting. Characters from other Stephen King stories are here. And how they're using them is really cool so far. It just doesn't feel like we're dropping this character. You remember them from this thing? It's like, oh no, you have a good, you are providing me with a good reason as to why they're here. And they're operating in a way that honors that character's legacy. And I really don't want to say too much about that stuff because I want you guys to experience that for yourself. But when it popped up, I went, oh, and how they're using something I thought was really cool and made me go, are you building towards something else as well? Will this show be a springboard to something that is even bigger, something that I wanted them to adapt for years, that they failed to adapt back in the day? I don't know. We'll see, but I hope that is what this could be. But at the same time, I want them just to tell a really good story, and the fact that they're using other elements from Stephen King books in this story, I think is cool. And if it doesn't lead to that, then all right, fine. But the potential is there, and at least how they're using it right now, it's working for me, and I think it's really good. If I have just one big criticism so far of the show, is that the CGI is sometimes hit or miss. I think that's Andy Muschietti. He's a producer on this, and I think he directs the first 2 episodes. I just feel like he just doesn't have the eye for CGI. Some people threw that at the original as a criticism for the original It movies, and sometimes CGI works. Sometimes it was like a little rough. Very much an issue with the Flash film. Huge issue with the Flash movie, obviously. Those fucking dead-eyed CGI babies, man. That was rough. There are some, it's weird because there are some scenes where there's a lot of CGI, obviously, in the show, but there's some sequences like, wow, this is really cool. I'm liking what you're doing here. It's weird. It's gross. And the best the CGI is used is when, typically it is the best, is when you use it in dark environments, right? Where it blurs is like, okay, is that CGI or is that animatronic, right? And there's several scenes in the first 2 episodes where they do that. It's like, that looks really good because of how the scene is lit. But then there'll be other scenes where it's like, it's fully fucking lit. You can see everything. I'm just like, I'm just staring at a CGI creature. And it's just, it doesn't look as good. But there are like a couple of sequences with it. And Pennywise hasn't shown up yet. The only thing that I've seen is the eyes, is his fucking demented eyes. But the clown, he's down to clown, but he is not the clown himself. I'm sure we'll see it later on. Bill Skarsgård's the producer in the show. He's listing the cast, so he'll pop up, obviously. There's no question. But he has, so if you're like, I'm going to see him fucking dancing his ass off, episode 1. No. He chooses different forms, which I think is really fun. And some of those forms I think are really cool. A lot of it revolving around pregnancy. There's a lot of like pregnancy body horror in these first 2 episodes, and both of those scenes are fucking horrific. Because I think both are a combination of practical effects and CGI, and also they are shot in very dark environments. And both of those scenes really, really work for me. But then there'll be like a scene in a grocery store. I'm just like, that doesn't look as great. But again, that's maybe the biggest critique that I have of the show so far. Ultimately, though, I think Welcome to Derry, it's working for me, man. It's working pretty well, at least so far, because it refuses to be a ordinary placeholder prequel. It expands the universe. instead of explaining it away, and it treats the history of the Cold War as horror fuel, and trust the atmosphere and the characters as much as the cool creature design and the effects. You know, if like the Losers Club saga, those original It movies was about confronting the monster, then Welcome to Derry is a story of how a town learned to live with one long before anyone dared to do something about it. And that's what makes it really interesting to me. And even though I had a lot of misgivings going in, I'm excited to watch the rest of this show, and hopefully it can maintain this level of creativity, of bold swings and risks, and interesting just overall narrative choices, and also expanding the universe in a way that I think Stephen King, other Stephen King films have been unable to successfully. You know, there are exceptions, of course, but you know. What about you guys? I'm curious. Have you guys seen It Welcome to Derry? Do you like it as much as I do? Are you more mixed on it? Excuse me. Or do you just downright hate it? Like, I'm done with all these clowns. I'm not down to clown. Keep Pennywise, wherever the hell he is, in the sewers. Thank you very much, of Georgie and the rest of them. What about you guys? I'm curious.
5 minutes later.
Derry is not a nice place to live. Once you get to the end of the first episode, you're like, oh shit. Yes, the end of the first episode, it was like, oh. Oh. As someone who grew up during the height of the Cold War, a lot of this reminds me of my youth. Yeah, I think you like it, Trailers, because they're playing a lot of cool Cold War stuff here. Some stuff that's very surprising. I was like, oh, is this what's happening? I'm always like, how does he say his name? Jovan Adepo? It's cool to see him get a lot of stuff to work with here. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the main leads. Yeah, it's like that Seth Rogen movie where he gets frozen a pickle that wakes up in a couple centuries later. Yeah, kind of like that. It's like the horror version of that, let's say. It's refreshing to have two very confident adult characters as part of this world for once. Yes, and they're more. And again, there's another character I want to mention, but if I literally say who they're playing, it's going to be a huge. And I do not look up the Wikipedia. Don't look up the Wikipedia of this, because it's a big spoiler, like right fucking there in the cast. But there's another character in here and an actor I'm really liking what they're doing, and they're doing a great job. So I'm gonna be careful with what I say. If morons are complaining, I haven't caught notice of it yet. Not having a Twitter account anymore helps. That definitely helps. Yeah. The old generation is looking really, and the new generation is to pick up the pieces and try to keep it from getting worse. Timely, I know, very timely. Very timely. Yeah. You guys are naming all the usual suspects. That's just don't feel botched like in the dark term. Yes. Agreed. Yeah, I don't think Michelle knows how to work film CGI. He does not. It's the weakest part of the first. It is whenever they have Pennywise go full G. Yeah, I agree. You bring stuff from the other books. We know Dark Tower, but I don't think it will lead to that. I don't know, man. Again, I don't want to say too much, but it's like maybe. Yeah, we'll see if he even does the Batman movie. Who even knows? I kind of like that they're holding Pennywise back. It's giving more room to warm up the new players in the show. Me too. Like he'll be in there. He'll show up and they'll be like, cool. Does the show so far give you confidence of Andy Muschietti, director of Batman: Brave and the Bold? No. I think you can do a great job with a great script and some guidance. I don't know, man. I really did not like The Flash, and even the stuff with the Michael Keaton Batman stuff, which I think a lot of people would argue is the best part of that movie. I just feel like it was so undercooked, and I had so many other questions and things I wanted to explore, and it just was like that felt like window dressing to me. I don't know. That's the biggest question mark I have for the DC universe. And I can't wait for the Batman Part 2. So excited. I think, Matt Reeves knows exactly what he's doing with that franchise and all the people he has involved with that. I can't wait. So excited. But I don't know. I'm not. Yeah. This wasn't the Young and the Restless review, promise. I'm sorry. YouTube spoilers will be yeah, they put the spoilers. Of course. They're probably on their fucking title cards. Keaton stuff is the best comparison to any time Ezra Miller's doing obnoxious shtick, which is like 70% of the movie. Yeah. I mean, like, the other thing I would say that I liked about the film, funny enough, is when Ezra Miller was with his parents, or when Barry was with his parents, and that was like one of his mom. I actually like those scenes, but there's just so few and far between. And then it's like, okay, got the Batman stuff, but then other than that, it's like, I don't know. Who would I personally want to direct Batman Brave and Bold? That's a good question. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. That's going to be a question for the Q&A. I can answer it there. Because there's certainly a lot of people I could potentially think about who I think would do a great job directing a Batman movie. But Andy Muschietti, I'm sorry, he's just not one of them. I don't know. Like I think so far he's doing a good job with this. It helps that it is his best movie, at least part one. And he seems to mostly be leaning into his strengths with this, although the CGI is hit and miss. But yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about who I want to do a Batman movie. Maybe something a little like, since we're doing more detective Batman with Matt Reeves. Maybe they can go. Certainly, they're going to go more fantastical in the James Gunn universe. So let me think about that. Something they can blend. Like, certainly it's dark, but there's that fantasy element. Maybe the do it. And I guess they're going in the direction of the Bat Family too, which is. I'm not necessarily against that in any capacity. I'm happy if they bring in Robin or Batgirl or any of those characters. It just depends on which Robin. That's the thing that concerns me. Like, I'm fine with Dick Grayson. Let's fucking go. Jason Todd, hell yeah. Tim Drake, sounds good. I do not want Damian Wayne. And that's the one that James Gunn wants. And I'm like, I just don't like that character. I find him incredibly obnoxious. And I feel like if you do Damian Wayne, that's going to be the movie then. It's not going to be a Batman movie. It's going to be a Damian Wayne movie. I'm just like, I can't do it. I don't want to indulge in that at all. So, I don't know. So, yeah, fuck him. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I just don't like this character, So, but we'll see. But welcome to Derry. Pretty good so far. I'm liking it. Doing everything right for the most part. I'm excited. I'm gonna keep watching this show, Chad. And so the next time I come back to this, I'll do like a final review after all the episodes. How many episodes is this? Actually, that's a good fucking question because I don't know. I bet it's 8. That seems to be like the number now. Remember back in the day when like seasons would, like even premiere TV. I'm not talking like now it's like 23 episodes. I don't want that much, but like 13 episodes. It's 13 episodes. Like, oh, that's good. That's a good amount. Right? And then it went to 10, and it's like, all right, 10's okay. 10's good. And then they're like now to 8 now. I'm like, fucking Christ. 8. I knew it. Also, it's HBO Max, and 8, for whatever reason, down the era of Zaslav, he's like, make it 8. Because, what's it? House of the Dragon, they made, at least season 2 was 8, and that hurt. And that's the one thing, like, they have a lot of time to play around with this stuff, and I would hate for them to pull a House of the Dragon where we get to the end and just fucking, it feels like both it's not paced well and it's rushing at the same time. The pacing is all over the place. So far, the pacing is good. Man, I would hate, that would really suck if they undercut it. That would be disappointing. So, we'll see. But overall, I'm enjoying the show. I'm very surprised, too, because I originally had, and I'm saying this, again, I'm saying this as someone who had no interest in this. I was like, I'm fine. I just, I like the first hit, but whatever. It's like, okay. It's just going to be the same fucking thing again. It's just going to be, it's the 60s versions of the Losers Club, and it's not. That's the thing. I was like, oh, right? I was like, okay, it's doing more things. And it's working so far. So, we'll see. I'm down to clown, shit. I'm down to clown, baby. Oh, man. 64 episodes, a little too much. Of course, F them bad kids. I like most of the bad kids. I'll take Stephanie Brown. I'll take Carrie Kelly over fucking Damien. All right? I'm fine because I don't think they've ever had they've never done a great job of adapting the Bat Family theatrically, at least live action wise. It just hasn't happened yet. But I'm totally cool with them doing that. I'm not against it. I'm not one of those guys who's like, oh, Robin's lame, he's fucking stupid. It's like, no, I think I've always liked Robin. I think that's always an interesting foil for Batman, to be a father figure, even though he's really fucked up. I think that's really cool. Wouldn't that be wild, though? It's like if they inevitably don't end up doing that, and instead in the Batman Part 2, Robert Pattinson has Robin. That would be crazy. I would be like, he's a Batman. I'm like, I don't think he should have a kid right now. That would be dark. They have to make that dark. They have to make that very dark, though. Oh, man. But we'll see. I'm hoping the best. I want both Batman movies to be great. But I got some concerns about the DCU one. Let's see here. I just love the fact that we're going to go back 7 years every season. They've already been confirmed for 3 seasons. For what? Go back for your season. I'm not sure you were talking about Tremblers. I have heard that future seasons will go back in time even further if they get more. Oh, for it. Are you talking about It Welcome to Derry? Ah, I see what you're saying. I didn't know. I thought this was a miniseries essentially. Oh, I didn't know that. Apparently, plans for 3 seasons. Each season is to be set in a different decade. Oh. Huh. So this one, like the next one, would then be set in the the 30s, like the late 30s. Then that's the next one would be sent. Huh. I don't know. I mean, I'll say this right now. It's like that really doesn't really interest me. I'm kind of okay if this is being one and done, but all right. You missed this. Speaking of the Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves has DP for Andor. Nice. It's going to look good. I expected it to. It's going to look beautiful. Want to see a live action Red Hood? Red Hood would be good. Chris O'Donnell wasn't a great sidekick. Kid sidekick. As you guys know, I really like riff tracks and MST3K and riff tracks. They did a riff of Batman and Forever, and they have the scene where, of course, in that film, the Flying Graysons die, his parents and his brother, and then they cut to Chris O'Donnell looking sad, and the riff tracks guy is like, "Oh no, I'm a 25-year-old orphan." It's like he's too old. It's like, why were you staying with fucking Bruce Wayne? You're like, Chris O'Donnell was like, what, 30 when he made the movie? I was like, oh Jesus, doesn't make any goddamn sense. We'll see though. But yeah, overall, chat. It Welcome to Derry. It's good so far. It's solid. I don't know. I guess I'm not. I say this now, and I could be like, oh, the other seasons are good too. I guess I'm not really excited about them going even further back because unless they just make. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that is making me pause a little bit. It's that, all right, so we're just going to have another group of fucking characters that don't know what It or Pennywise is. Like, how is that we're going to keep doing? Is this going to keep going like that? But at the same time, the thing that has me the most invested in the show so far is the human stuff, right? That is the stuff that's working for me the most. So if they manage to do that with the other, like, parts, if this is like, all right, doesn't exactly excite me, but I'll give it a shot. For right now, listen, for right now, I'm just talking about this show. Future, who even knows? Apparently, this did very big numbers. I guess this is the 3rd most watched like debut ever, for a HBO show. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's up there. I think it's like literally up there with Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. So I'm sure they're pretty happy with it. We'll find out. But overall, good start. Good solid start. Luke Ball says, I'm liking Welcome to Derry so far. The opening scene for the first episode was great, but felt more Freddy Krueger than Pennywise. That's why I liked it, though, is that it's doing something different. And that it's not just like we're going to see Pennywise. He's in all the marketing. But it'll probably be in the back half. That's which is fine. It is not just Pennywise. It's all these other. It's like its favorite illusion is Pennywise, but it's not the only one it chooses to be. So I'm cool with that though. I don't mind that. But we'll see.